Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IrishSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Tuesday. What is the date today? April 8th. Talking about Notre Dame's open practice on Saturday. Jamie finally got eyes on the football team, and so there was a lot of insights that he shared yesterday on Power Hour with Mike. And I'm just a producer on that show, so I didn't really get to talk. I want to talk about that today. Give my thoughts on some of the trendy topics that people have been discussing. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a little bit of recruiting because there's something going on Thursday. Rodney Dunham is going to be five-star defensive end. Rodney Dunham is going to be announcing his commitment to some university. Hopefully Notre Dame. We're feeling pretty good about that. So we'll monitor that. We'll talk about that and also other recruiting things going on. So that's going to be the show today. It's going to be really fun. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you like what you hear, please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. Under 300 subscribers for 10K. I want to get to 10K subscribers on the ISD channel. That would be great. So please subscribe to our channel if you like what you hear. As always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. You've seen ESQ on all of your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches with over a decade of making the best custom clothing available. ESQ will help you look and feel your best in 2025. From a perfect fitting suit or sport coat, shirt or bomber jacket, or the perfect tuxedo for wedding season, check out Ge's amazing work at esqclothing.com. Book an appointment to upgrade your wardrobe today. Mention ISD and get 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. Jamie, welcome back. How was it? How was your trip in terms of just like what you were able to do, what you were able to see? We did get the scrimmage, which is nice, right? Always nice to get the scrimmage. Just general takeaways from what you saw from the Notre Dame football team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you don't want to overreact to one day, but I think whenever you're getting more of a look at the team, really like kind of like a true first impression,
Yeah.
a true first impression of 2025, an incomplete one because there's so many guys out. Still get a good look at a lot of guys, and for me, the biggest thing, the takeaway is that you look at guys that you have questions about that you didn't see that much last year, or you just only saw like guys who were like me running with the 3s and 4s last year, barely getting any reps. All of a sudden, like Tay Johnson, you're seeing him like, well,
Yeah.
with the ones, and he's like
Yeah.
making plays and doing stuff, right? So I think that there's a lot of that, those kind of guys there that really kind of stood out and were able to like give you a good idea of like where they're at, where they might be for this year and beyond. And to me, that's always exciting. It's always exciting because you never, some of these guys too, if I think about a guy like Matty Augustine, probably in fall camp, probably not going to see him all that much, to be honest. You're right. I don't think he's going to get a ton of reps in fall camp. So certainly not the reps that he's getting right now. I mean, he's going to be better for it at this point. But now I know he's not close to being ready to play this year. But I look at him and I think that guy's got a shot to be a pretty good player at Notre Dame down the line. And that's kind of like what you can take out of a lot from the spring. And it was exciting. And it's always good to go there. Obviously, hear a little bit more about like kind of what's going on at practice and like how things have been going. And it was a good trip.
Yeah, let's start out with Bronte Johnson real quick. He was someone that I had flagged as someone I wanted to discuss because I felt like of all the things that we heard, positive, negative, whatever it may be, about the team, I thought Bronte Johnson and the way that you described the way that he played, I thought was one of the bigger deals and one of the more meaningful things coming out of this because of his greenness, for lack of a better way to put it, as a safety, right? Like he had been a great athlete. Everyone knew he was a great athlete. He's a good basketball player. Played quarterback in high school just because they kind of needed him to. He played some defensive back, but like his DB film was rough. just because he was so just raw. Like he didn't have a ton of technique. He didn't have
just chasing the ball.
Yeah. It wasn't, none of it was refined, and it's like, so, okay, so you have this kind of these pieces. What can come of it? The fact that even last year he was able to get onto the field at all, right, as a corner. He's making plays as a safety. When you have the physical ability, and now it seems like it's coming together for him. When you're making plays, it doesn't matter. I don't care who it's against. You're making plays in a scrimmage situation at a program like Notre Dame's that played for a national title. Anytime you can do that, you're trending in the right direction. The fact is, he has 4 years remaining as a football player at Notre Dame. There's, obviously Jalen Stroman is there, but Jalen Stroman is also someone that he can learn from. Adon Schuler is someone that he can learn from, right? I'm not super concerned. It doesn't really matter to me how he ultimately fits. It's the fact of the matter is he's doing things in making plays. It's like, to me, that it's an indicator he's going to be a hit at Notre Dame, and it's great for the room, right? I think it's great for the future of the safety position. And so I was delighted to hear about Bronte Johnson and some of the things that he was able to do in the scrimmage. If people didn't catch the Power Hour yesterday, just to highlight some of the things that you saw from him in the playmaking, tackles for loss, and his athleticism in there.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see a safety like knifing into the backfield and making tackles behind the line of scrimmage, or like, combining to stuff a running back with Drake Bowen, at the line of scrimmage, that's exciting. Like that's, something that you want to see, especially for a guy that I think the biggest thing with him, he was just seen as, like you said, this raw athlete that they were taking. And it wasn't even just that he didn't play much defense. It was like everything was going to be like this big learning curve for him. He was skinny. He was 177 pounds when he came to, Notre Dame, right? Like, actually, I think he was like 170, and then he like got up to 177. Like, so he's added 20 pounds since he's been at Notre Dame. And he's just, it's one thing to be fast. He's fast. You could see him run. It's another thing to play fast. And he played fast. And that is what really stood out, was that he played fast. He looked like a guy who is definitely deserved to be in the mix for a starting job.
Yeah.
And it reminds me a lot of Schuler last year, because that was the thing with Schuler. It was like, well, he's getting this looks right now. Well, Rod Hurd's coming. And guess what? Rod Hurd was like a good player, and he was very good for Notre Dame last year. Would have started on definitely would have started the year before at Notre Dame. He was better than DJ Brown, better than, Ramon Henderson. He didn't start because Adon Schuler showed that he deserved to start.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we'll see with Jalen Stroman, because he's certainly still going to be in the mix. Luke Talich is certainly still in the mix too. But Ge Johnson, like you said, just announced that he is going to be a player at Notre Dame. And that is something that doesn't always happen for guys this early in, like, the spring going into your second year. There's a lot of guys, especially at safety, because there's such a big learning curve there. And I think I'm not saying he's not getting coached up, because I'm sure he's getting coached up all the time. But when I'm watching, like, they're just doing like kind of like a little like walkthrough Skelly thing early on, and I see like Mike Mickens talking to Kenny Urlacher about something, emphasizing something, and I see Marty Biaggi talking about Jadon Blair. I never saw them talk to, and whatever. This is totally like, they might have like the practice before that maybe they were talking to him about something, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, he seemed like he was like in control of it.
Yeah.
And even if it was just for that one day, that's a good sign. It's a really, really good sign.
Yeah, these are just little things that you pick up when you're there, right? And that's why it's so good to be around him, because it is meaningful. Like, if he's knifing in the backfield, he's playing fast. They're not having to go to him and like talk to him about little things that are going on. It's just like, and it has really nothing to do with the other guys. Like, I don't want to make a evaluation on Talich or Urlacher in that way, in a negative way. It is what it is, or Jadon Blair. It's just that when he's playing fast and he's playing confident, and then he's also like kind of being left alone, like you said, to be in control. These are good signs for him personally, right? And so like that was something that I just thought, I flagged it immediately. And I was like, of all the things that I'm hearing, like this one, I feel like is the most kind of real and I'm taking away from it, which is obviously good. The other one is the quarterbacks. I mean, look, you mentioned Kenny Minchey. You said that you thought he had the best practice. Obviously, that's a lot of the quarterbacks did a lot of good things, right? All the quarterbacks did good things in the scrimmage. So I don't want to act like he's the only one. You did hear he's having a really good spring, which is great. And I think for him, that's necessary more so than even Angeli, because Angeli, I think he can win the job without looking technically the best in the spring, right? He has to, because they know what he can do. They know what he's done. He's started a game for Notre Dame. He's played in playoffs, He's been the backup this entire time. They know what he can do. And for him, it's going to be like about the fall if he gets there, right? And that remains to be seen. I think Minchey, I think he does have to be better than him in the spring to be viable, honestly. And so for him, I think it's necessary. And I think it's a huge thing for him personally, not for necessarily the starting job overall, but for him, he had to be the best one. He has to look the best, because he has to pass him. There's no other way to pass him, right? And so I think the fact that he's making plays, throwing the ball, he's taking chances, he's being a playmaker. Obviously, he's got his legs, right? He's got the mobility there. It matters. I think this is big for Minchey. I think I look at him differently now. Like going into last week, I thought, it's hard for me to see it. And now I can kind of see it, that he could actually be the best one and win the job. That was kind of my takeaway from it. Just kind of your thoughts on Minchey and that whole situation.
Well, I always thought he was going to be like, people kind of saying that he didn't have a chance that's not what I ever thought was going to be the case. Like I always thought he was going to have a chance and that he had the talent to have a chance. And it's not to say that, he's going to be the quarterback or, he's clearly showed that he's above everybody else or whatever. But I think it's clearly he's stacking up days where he's putting himself in a position to where, as long as he kind of finishes the spring strong, he's put himself into a position where they're going to say, Kenny could be the quarterback. And that's all you want to do, like basically out of the spring is like Angeli was going to come out of that regardless, like you said, no matter what, right? Like, unless he had just like just a god awful spring where it was like, he was terrible. All he has to do is just be like good. And they would say, okay, well, Steve's still, in the running. Right. And I think with Minchey and CJ Carr, it's about like showing like, oh, we're just better, right? Like that's the thing. And it's not to say that Carr can't, have like the next day and be the best guy or whatever. And all this stuff could shift and change and whatnot. But I think it's important that if you're going to go and have those kind of days and you're going to have a good spring, it's important not just for the coaches to have like the belief that, hey, you're in the mix, but it's important for the other players to look at and be like, hey, this guy could be our guy.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can have, people could say, oh yeah, we have, confidence in all our quarterbacks. The players aren't stupid. They know who they think should be the guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's how the players feel or anything like that, but I'm saying that at some point there's going to come a time when the players are going to be like, this is who we want to, because this is who we think is the best. And you got to go and earn that. And he's, in the process of doing that right now. So good for him. And I think too, just based on his talent, like if that's the case, I know Sid Irish is always in here talking about how like he doesn't want Steve Angeli to win the job. I think even Sid Irish or any of these people would be excited if they came out of spring and people were like, Steve Angeli just hit another level. All people want to hear is blank hit another level. They're climbing. They're doing that. And I think Marcus Remus isn't going to give anything away. He's going to say, he's saying everybody's progressing. He's very like extremely vague when every question that's asked about the quarterbacks, and he should be. But it doesn't really matter to like, what he says at this point or whatever, because none of it will ultimately matter like months from now when they really make a decision. But it does matter if the players think like, man, this guy's the best guy. We think we can win a natty with him. So
yeah,
that'll be interesting.
And the good news, I think, is that for the team is if Kenny Minchie is playing really well right now, then that means to win the job, you got to outplay him. And then that means you got to be a good quarterback, right? Like,
yeah,
there's been a lot of discussion about like, 22 with Pine and Buckner, and even to some extent, like Buckner and Hartman, where it was like, no one's actually playing that well. It's just like, you kind of know they're going to go with Hartman because of, he's obviously very accomplished, right? And they brought him in kind of with the mind that he's going to be the starter, but like they don't really have a mind of this is what we want, right? And I don't, and I think that's kind of true. I don't know that they know what it's going to be, and so that you want whoever wins, like you want the others to be playing well, right? Because that elevates the position just altogether, like the room itself. So I think that's kind of my main thing is like Minchie raises the floor for everyone. And so everyone's got to go get him. And whoever it might be, whether that's Angeli or whether it's Carr, it doesn't really matter to me. You want the floor to be raised by someone. And so it's good to see that, someone is actually going ahead and doing that. The other part of it, or the other part of the scrimmage that I thought was kind of a main theme, was the wide receivers and, the drops by them. This is where I come out on it. So I think of the people that I saw going through drills is I saw Greathouse, and then I saw a bunch of guys who I saw Will Pauling later, so I don't know why he wasn't in the video that Matt got, but like I saw Greathouse and I saw Pauling, and then I saw a bunch of guys who haven't played a ton of snaps at Notre Dame. Right, Faison wasn't there. Malachi Fields was there, but he obviously can't practice. If they got a bunch of young players, and I include Cam Williams in this, I'm just not freaking out about drops right now. It doesn't matter. They need to show me that they can get open and they can get the ball thrown to them and make plays, right? Like that's the important part to me. And especially on Cam Williams, I simply do not care about the drops. Is he running the routes correctly? Is he running is he getting his, I don't want to say checks. Is he reading the defense correct? Is he running the correct route? Is he doing the things that he's supposed to be? That's where he's at. And I think there's a parallel between Cam Williams and Jaylen Sneed right now, is that Jaylen Sneed is in his 4th year and it's all kind of coming together for him. He was a 5-star rated player and it's all coming together and everyone kind of expects great things right now. Whereas Cam Williams redshirted last year, is going to go into his 4th year, or has 4 years to play. He doesn't need to be a viable receiver for Notre Dame in the spring of 2025, right? They have Jaden Greathouse. They have Malachi Fields. They have Jordan Faison. They have Will Pauling. These are 4 receivers that have played a ton. They have Eli Raridan. Like he's going to be a big-time receiver for them. They have Jeremiah Love. They have so many options. And then they have, what's his name? Micah Gilbert. They have Logan Saldate, right? They have KK Smith. They have so many options. Cam Williams needs to do the right things. He doesn't need to be catching every ball. It doesn't matter to me if the ball was behind him. People are debating. catch the ball. Like, first of all, if we're just talking about it, like you're a receiver at Notre Dame, catch the ball. If it hits you in the hands, if it's behind you, whatever, catch it, right? But that's not where he's at right now. So it doesn't freak me out. If they put him in a game, if I felt like he had to be put in a game, then I'd be like, all right, I don't like that. But I don't think that's where he's at. So that's kind of where I come off, on that whole thing. So
I feel the same way for the most part. I just think that we only get so many looks, which I think it's on purpose because they don't want people reacting day to day to like the quarterback battle. Like they don't want to be like, well, Minchie was with the ones today, and then Angeli was with it yesterday, and this is what this guy threw for, and he had this many picks, and this guy threw this touchdown and whatever, and you're counting all this stuff all the time, and it's really kind of not fair because that's also not how it's like graded when you look at it, right? Because you don't know about like this guy ran the wrong route or this guy blew his assignment. So like on the pick that Kenny Minchie threw in the scrimmage, Peter Jones just like whiffed hard on Sean Seviano, and then Seviano was about to light up Minchie on the play. He threw it, was going to get crunched, and basically that's that's what led to it. I think that if you mentioned all those receivers are out, I would say and really too, Pauling didn't play that much. They're still like kind of working him back in. For the top 5, I would say, of receivers this year, Greathouse is the only one that was like actually practicing fully. That's not a good way to kind of look at like how many of these other guys are actually going to break in and play is the thing. And like Cam Williams might do it, and then also like KK Smith might, and we'll see what happens. But one drop from Cam Williams when you just don't see enough of it, don't react to that. It's like the same thing of like you could see that in a spring game where some guy Cam Williams catches. If Cam Williams catches that in the spring game, all the people who didn't pay attention, don't subscribe to these sites and read practice reports and whatever, they're going to be like, Cam Williams star this year. Like, you know what I mean? That's how people will react to it. It's just one of these things. You just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. And also the fact that like stuff changes throughout the year. Like Elijah Burris had a rough day catching the ball. You could say that. And then you could also say, man, he got wide open on the touchdown to close the practice. He also was open all the time, which is why he got thrown the ball. So he keeps getting open. So I don't think that Burris is going to play much this year. I doubt it. To me, he has a shot to play, but it's more of a long shot. But where are they at? Where are they at when they're making plays on Saturdays? And if that's going to be a problem. And I don't know. I don't think, like I was mentioning it with Mike yesterday, I just don't think there's anything to be freaking out about right now at this time with it. Yeah.
It's a practice. Like everyone's talking about it, like, oh, it would have been a touchdown. It's like, yeah, but I mean, like Micah Gilbert, who everyone loves, dropped a touchdown in an actual game. Like, and not just that, but like on the scale of like catches that you should make, but like as a former player, I kind of understand like, some of those, like you got to catch it, but it's those catches make me uncomfortable. That is one of the easier ones you'll ever get, right? The ball is literally put right in your breadbasket, and all you have to do is just cradle the thing. He dropped one of the easiest ones, and I love Micah Gilbert, and I think he's going to be great. Like, so these things happen to young players. I was reading your piece that you did on Cam Williams. They're talking about, getting the routes correct, alignment, timing, like in Mike Brown's the way they're talking about him is like the end game of like making the final part of it, which is catching the ball. Like that is almost secondary to him right now. And that's just where he is. And that's why I compared him to Jaylen Sneed, who we can talk about now, is like it's not going to, he doesn't have to look like a finished product. Like he unfortunately, like he's not like some guys come in and they're Jaden Greathouse and they play immediately. And some guys just take a little bit longer, you know, and it looks like Cam Williams is going to be one of those guys like Jaylen Sneed, who it just looks like he's going to, he's going to take a little bit longer, and that's fine. Right. Because you have other guys like Mikey Gilbert, who looks like it's going to happen more quickly, or maybe someone like Logan Saldate. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'm nonplussed by the whole thing. I'm happy that he's performing well, or like he's going up against Leonard Moore all the time. He's getting a ton of good reps there. Let's talk about Jaylen Sneed though. Let's talk about him. In what way does he look different other than his size? What does it look like that everyone's kind of having a good feeling about him right now?
Well, first of all, it's the fact that he's that much bigger, but he still looks the exact same in terms of how he moves. Like that's big, because gaining 10 pounds is something that can make a huge difference in how some people run and move and transition and the twitchiness. That is a thing for a lot of people. Gaining like almost 20 pounds, you know, he's probably gained 15 or something, 15 to 20. That can make like a huge difference in what you're doing. And it has not made a difference. So he is bigger and like scarier looking out, and then he can move the exact same. It has not hampered at all his athleticism and his twitchiness, or how, like, you know, when you watch him like rush the passer and like pass rush 1-on-1s and stuff, what he's doing there, he looks like the same athlete. So I think that is always a good thing. But I just think like watching him versus the run, and, you know, there was just one inside run play. He has to take on a guard. And there's just so many times too. It's true. And it's something that Max Bulla had talked about before, where you're just able to absorb contact and not being able to get like knocked off your spot. Were you able to hold your ground and then get like a stuff for like a 2-yard gain, rather than being like, I got bumped out and then, oh, maybe I'm still going to make the tackle, or maybe I'm going to miss the tackle. But even if I make the tackle, it's going to be 5 yards or something, you know, because I can't really like hold my ground here. I got moved a little bit out of my gap that I'm trying to play. So I think that was something that was noticeable to me. And I think just overall too, when we're talking about, like, say, Cam Williams, and one of the things that in that article about Cam Williams was talking about him, he's fast. Well, he has to play fast, right? Like he has to use his speed, because if he can't use his speed, then what good is it? You know, like who cares? There's been plenty of guys that, you know, could fly, but they never really understood that part of it. If that was the thing, every track guy would just be an unbelievable receiver. It's completely different, right? And the reason that like makes Tyreek Hill so good is that he knows how to use that speed just about better than anybody. And it's the same thing on defense, because like we said about Tate Johnson, it's playing fast, and Sneed is playing faster. You can be a 5-star. You can be all of these things. And I think the difference between Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah and, I would say, Sneed early on, obviously Sneed's bigger, but JOK like played fast right away. Even if he was wrong, he still played fast, because he just was like instinctive and just had that kind of like confidence in it. And that was missing in terms of Sneed before, where he just didn't trigger quick enough, right? And that, if you don't have that, it just can really, I don't think you can really be like even a good linebacker, like just traditional linebacker. Yeah, you can do all these other things like rush the passer, blitz, do all this stuff, but you can't like make that play on the ball in coverage. you can't run that play down on the sideline, even if you see it, because even just a half step, if it's Jadarian Price or if it's Jeremiah Love, that's the difference between that going for 8 yards or maybe 80 yards or whatever. So you need to be on that and recognize it right away. And you just saw him just like, he's processing things faster and really like, and a little bit what Bulla said about him too, is that it's not just that he's gained the weight and he's been serious about that. It's just that by him being serious about that, you can see him being serious about everything now. Like everything is so like, it's just important. It's clicked for him. And of course, people wish that would have happened a bit earlier for him. That would have been, great, obviously, for his career, because he's a 5-star. You want that guy to be like, maybe a 3-and-out guy or whatever, right? But that didn't happen for him. It happened for a guy like Jaylen Smith, like much sooner. But the point is, I think it's happening for him now. They think it's happening for him now, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it's like we said about the weight room thing earlier in like an earlier show. It's not even that the weight gain, like you said. It's the fact that the work that it takes to get that and the discipline, it just shows a seriousness to what he's doing. And so that's going to manifest itself in everything. It'll manifest itself in the way he takes care of his body, the way that he studies film, the way he thinks about football, right? Like everything there's an enhanced seriousness to him, and it shows, right? It shows in the way that he's playing, and it shows in the way that the coaches are seeing the way he's playing. And so then therefore they kind of take him a little bit more seriously, because he is taking the whole process in a different kind of light, right? And so everything kind of as someone I know says a lot, like everything speaks, right? Everything communicates. And so the fact that Jaylen Sneed has taken those steps is communicating itself in all aspects of his game as a football player. You want to communicate that you take your small business seriously and your social media page and your highlight reel seriously. You want to communicate those things. You put out a good website, you put out a good highlight reel, that communicates I'm a serious person. And you got to take me seriously. And if you want to do that, go with VSR Media, founded by Notre Dame Football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Asad-Razadeh. VSR Media provides a professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at bsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Let's talk about the D-line, Jamie. I want to talk about your D-line boys.
Yeah, let's do it.
Listen, you got your obligatory Armel Mukum love fest going on. He looks good. What's up with I'll put up the video from practice, because there's some good stuff. Matt got video, so it's a mix. You'll see the D-line later in this. What's up with Jared Dawson and all the stuff that he's got going on? He's got something on the elbow. The knee braces are normal, but what's going on with his elbow? I'm concerned about our big boy. He seems like he's got a lot going on, but I think that one of the main kind of things from this spring, just generally, is that maybe the defensive interior is not going to be, well, I don't want to say that. The defensive interior may be a strength, much more so than a question mark going into the season. I think people are really excited about Dawson. You're very excited about Jason Onye, very excited about Armel Mukum. People, so Kurt Hinish didn't practice. Donovan Hinish didn't practice that much, but we kind of know what he's about. Here's some of the D-line stuff. Tell us about the D-line interior, guys. What have you seen? What gets you excited? And
I mean, I think it's really like the depth there, right? Because I think that's what's really kind of stood out. is they are really deep there. Like they're going to struggle to kind of like make decisions.
That's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He's gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And I would say one of the things with him too is his legs are even bigger. Like, I like what's his squat at? Like, it's got to be insane. And just overall, they're just so much bigger. I don't know what's going on with Dawson. I think maybe he hurt his elbow and what's going on. I mean, you see that with guys wearing an elbow brace, whatever. But he practiced fully, and he seems to be fine. Didn't really seem to impact him at all during any of the practice. I think that right now, if you look at like, they're just so much bigger there overall. Like I think it was like Marcus Freeman's first year, and this wasn't obviously Freeman's fault. This was previous staff of like a little bit of like what Mike Elston was doing in terms of who he was targeting. But they had, I think, 4 of their top 5 defensive linemen were under 290 pounds. Like, that's just not big enough, right? It isn't. And even if those guys are good players, like Admiral is a good player, like obviously Howard Cross is a really good player, it's still too small, right? That's not what you want, right? And now you can just see they're just bigger across the board. I think they have way more guys that can rush the passer this year. I think it's actually going to be a bit of a battle to see like which of these guys might, be a sub package guy, because I think there's multiple guys that really kind of have a shot at it. Heinisch is probably the leader for it. Like I've heard he didn't practice in this. He practiced, but he didn't do the team stuff. I don't know why they held him up. They didn't say, but he rushed the passer really well at the end of the year. But Onye is going to be a problem. Like when he's like, rushing the passer, like he was doing some of the things that he was doing to Charles Jugusaw in terms of his, speed power stuff, was stuff that he was doing to the guys at Purdue. So it's not like he was just like, well, that was Purdue. It was like, no, he did it with Charles Jugusaw, and nobody else was doing that to Charles Jugusaw. So I think that was eye-opening and in a good way, where you saw a lot of that. Rubio, is going to be able to play and be he was very good against the run on this day. He's not going to be much of a pass rush guy. He's never been. But Dawson can play. Hughes showed stuff as a pass rusher for sure.
Yeah.
And he's probably the smallest guy out of there, and he's like over 290, right? He's like probably like 293. Mukum, there's a consistency that needs to get there, but his good looks as good as any of like the good from that group, which I think if you look at him too physically, he looks fantastic. And the highest ceiling he's probably got just about as high a ceiling as any of the guys. And Seviano looks like he can play too. And Cole Mullins, who played and in the scrimmage part of it, but only because they're down some edges right now. He was awesome in one-on-ones, like really quick, like looked very impressive. Definitely a defensive tackle. Like he's going to play defensive tackle. I don't know. Like, I mean, obviously Bryce Young, I mean, when we're talking about edges and stuff, like obviously like Burnham and Tui Halamaka both look good. Like they both look good. Bryce Young looks friggin' nasty. Like he is going to be awesome. Like it is going to happen for him this year. Whether or not it's good, the consistency level is going to be there right at the start. But trust me, in those games against Miami and Texas A&M, he's going to be a guy who makes a play that, like, Sean McDonough's calling the game, and it's going to be like Bryce Young. Like it's going to happen because he's
turn the corner.
Yeah. It's like it's gonna be something like that. Love Sean McDonough, but and then they don't even have Boubacar and the Botello yet back.
Yeah,
and so I really just think like, and that's not even taking into account that like Sneed, like we said, is still going to rush. KVA came over in one-on-one pass rush and looked just filthy with some of the stuff he was doing. I think they're going to be able to rush 4 much better this year. I don't know how it's going to work out with the rotation there. People can say what they want. It's tough to try to get, a good rotation to be like, how many guys do you really want to play inside? I think 5 is about you could do 6. 5 is, to me, is right about as much as you can do there. And some of those guys aren't going to play that much, but I don't know if there's going to be enough of a separation to say that, well, Cross and Mills got to be on the field, because that's the thing. And that's going to definitely happen with the starters this year. But I just have a feeling you're just going to see way more stuff from like way more plays from the depth of those guys kind of making it going along. And to me, that's like kind of what they've needed for a while, right? Where you always kind of felt you're like, well, they're putting in the 2s now, and there was always such a big drop off. And I don't think there's going to be that big of a drop off this year.
Overrated, underrated. Jeremiah Love at wide receiver. Is this an overrated storyline or an underrated storyline?
I mean, overrated in the fact that I don't know how much he's going to actually line up at wide receiver this year, to be honest.
Yeah.
But underrated in terms of like, they're doing it because they want. I don't think they're doing it to line him up in the first game, like we talked about before, and then never to be seen again. I think they're going to do it a decent amount. One, because they want teams to prepare for it and say like, oh, you're going to put a linebacker here on Jeremiah Love? All right, bet, let's go. Like, let's see there. They want teams to have to like say like, you better put your nickel on him if you want to cover him, right? But if you're going to do that, you also have to prove it and like throw him the ball there and do some different things with him. But 42 catches for Kyren Williams in his final year in 12 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think like over 30 catches he had 28 in 16 games last year. Over 30, 100%. And I think they're doing it because they want to get the guy 40 catches. They want to get him 40 catches, 40 plus catches. You got to get him more touches. It's an absolute must. You don't want to waste a talent like that. You don't want to go into a game saying, no one wants to go out of the games where if they were in a position and they lost against Miami or Texas A&M at the beginning of the season, be like, you know what? Jeremiah Love, we couldn't run the ball that well, so Jeremiah Love got 9 carries. No. Well, if he got 9 carries, he better have 5 catches in the game, because then you say like, you have to get, I love the Mike McDaniel quote about him saying, we have to be addicted to getting our best players the ball. And that's really kind of what it is, and I think about that with like Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, and these guys get credit as like offensive geniuses for some of the stuff they do and wrinkles they put in. Yes, they do. I mean, they're great play callers, but a lot of it is them just being like, well, we got to make sure we get Kittle the ball. We got to make sure we get Deebo Samuel the ball. We got to throw the ball to Ayuk. We got to do all this. Like, because that's how you win. McCaffrey. That's how you win games. You want your best guys to shine. And then hopefully other guys come up and earn it. And that's the same thing with like Jaden Greathouse. Like, well, now he's proven that he can make those plays there. So have it in the game plan that you're getting this guy the ball as much as possible.
Plus, it's kind of like, man, if we can't get the most out of him, what are we hoping for? What do you want to come through your program?
Exactly.
Who's gonna come through your program more explosive and more versatile than Jeremiah Love? So it's like there's a pressure there, on Denbrock, on on
no one wants to have a first round pick that they don't well, everyone wants a first round pick.
You want it to be Christian McCaffrey. Like that's what you want.
Yes.
Like that's what you want it to be at Stanford.
No one wants to have a guy that is the NFL sees, man, this guy's so good. And you're like, well, they wasted him. They didn't get him the ball enough. Like, no, don't do that. Like, don't do that. Have it Michael Floyd in his last 2 years. If you're going to give BK any kind of credit for the first couple of years that were not great years for him, the one thing he clearly had in mind was we need to throw the ball to Michael Floyd 1,000 times. And they did over and over again. And it was smart.
Yeah. The O-line is very makeshift right now. So it's just not, how hard do you think it is for the quarterbacks? Just when you're watching, the whole practice, how much are you thinking to yourself, it's hindering them in the extreme to where it's like, you actually can't figure out anything?
Oh, I think it is hindering them, because I can tell you too that about how many balls were thrown in between the hashes in the game. Yeah. And I always think like that happens when you're getting pressured in your face all the time. Right. And so why didn't Greathouse didn't get thrown the ball out of the game? It's like, well, he's a slot. So unless they're running like slot fades and it's like a predetermined read that they're going to do it, it wasn't there, because it's like they're taking out like the easy. They're taking the, the free access. They're taking the check down. They have to get outside the pocket and try to create there. So they just weren't throwing the ball over the middle there for a reason, because that. And I would say that was, if you're going to just kind of briefly taking it back to like why Kenny Minchie, if you're going to say like, well, why did he have the best practice? He was the only guy that I thought like, really like threw the ball over the middle of the field. And he didn't do it a lot. He did it a couple times, but one of them was like a really nice throw, kind of like a layered throw on a seam ball to Jack Larson. And he didn't catch it. He ended up getting lit up on the play. Yeah. But I wasn't like he hung him up to dry. It was like, hey, this is going to be a tough catch, but I'm going to go for it. I'm like, I want to see the quarterback make that throw. And he made the throw.
Okay. I hear that stuff, and a part of me thinks, it's like, well, you got to deal with the situation the way the situation is. And sometimes you think, well, it's really not going to be like this when they're deciding who's actually going to be the quarterback. And so there's nothing you can take away from it. So just wanted to kind of get your impressions there.
Well, just because, and I was just, I'll plug, because I was on, with Tyler on Locked On. And, we were talking about the same thing, and we're talking about the fact that there's a good chance that they could still have 3 going into, fall camp. Yeah. And how this impacts it, because that is a big part of the reason why they would still have 3, right? Is because you can't get a complete look at them in 11 on 11 the way you want to. But what it does is in fall camp is that means you're probably going to do more 11 on 11 early on in camp, just to get a better evaluation of all these guys, so you can make decisions quicker, because it isn't just going to be about deciding who's the best guy. It's going to be about getting it down to 2 in there. And there's going to obviously be some point where they're going to have to talk to someone. I mean, who knows? A week from now, someone could be out. Right. That happens. It even if you don't think it's going to happen, it can happen. But let's just say they do go in with 3. They're going to have to do a lot of that early on to get a look with all these guys there, because it's going to matter, because it's everything has to be sped up with you can't be like 3 weeks into camp and be like, well, we still got 3 guys taking reps of the ones. Can't do it.
Yeah. They And these things are all happening in real time, right? Like you were talking about a snap, like one day, like a snapshot in time. Like you said, someone could just we could wake up, we could open up the internet tomorrow and like someone's in the portal, right? That could happen. And we don't know how they're communicating and we don't know how that's all taking place. So we just have to take it in. But yeah, they got to build a football team. You can't have this lingering for too long in the fall camp, right? You got the football team's got to get built in what they're good at. Creed Thomas and Carson Hobbs, they're kind of to me, the question marks, kind of the bigger question marks on the defense, right? Like everyone knows Christian Gray and Leonard Moore can play. Those two, they're going to need to play snaps this year. Well, at least Carson Hobbs, in my opinion. I think Creed Thomas, like, look, Dallas Golden could come in, Mark Zachary could come in, and they could look great when they come in the fall, like we've seen in the past. But I think Carson Hobbs, they really need to be a good football player. Kind of what have you seen from him? I know he's working in the nickel because Devontae Smith didn't really practice. So Carson Hobbs was working in the nickel. You've got Creed Thomas. There's been a lot of good comments about him this spring. What did you see from those guys and their viability to kind of get on the field next year?
Yeah, so Hobbs was with, he was the one nickel with Smith out. But when they were doing, just kind of like walk through Skelly stuff, he was outside, and him and Creed Thomas were like with the twos outside corner, right? So, and he's playing the field corner spot. So, it's important that he's playing, but I mean, physically, he looks great, like really good, man. He's put together. He's really put together, and I know that he's someone that is apparently like he's tested really well, like in terms of what he's doing athletically. And that's not surprising. And I thought, when he was kind of asked about like not being, when they kind of rode with Moore and Gray wrestling, and he thought, well, maybe I'll get this chance now. And then he kind of realized, well, I didn't do enough to earn it, to show that I'm doing. So he's like taking it obviously very seriously to try to be like, I got to earn my stuff this year. He made a great play on a nickel blitz to blow it up on fourth down. I thought he looked good. It was a zone. He wasn't man coverage on Eli Raridan, but he made a really good tackle on him to kind of like prevent him from scoring a touchdown on another one. So I think physically, like, he looks like a guy. He's going to tackle. He's going to tackle well, and he can run. I wish I got to see a little bit more of him outside corner, just in kind of doing it. But then again, too, like, they didn't have the top receiver guys out there. Thomas, like, another guy. I mean, he can tackle. He can really tackle. That stuff with like BMO 2.0. I think we could chill on it a little bit till. Well, I just saying, like,
it's fine.
Well, because I think one of those things, like, if I was just, it has totally one practice, first impression. I'm not saying that Creed Thomas isn't going to be. He is going to be the next whatever, but Moore and BMO right away. The first impression of those guys right away was they were at a higher level than him. They got beat a little less than he did. And he got beat a couple times. Not bad, but just got beat, right?
I just think it's now turning into a thing where, I mean, in
people
2
are
years
pumping up their own guys, whatever.
Yeah, like I think in 2 years, Creed Thomas is going to be like, X guy is the next Leonard Moore or whatever. Like he doesn't have to
I mean, some guys are like that. Maybe that's a DB thing. I don't know. Whatever.
Maybe. I don't mind it. But I think, it's funny. Pimo called the shot and we all kind of scoffed. And then, Leonard Moore turned into a really good football player. To me, Hobbs is more important. It's more important that he's a player for Notre Dame. So the fact that they have him in the slot is a pretty big deal to me, and that he's doing things in the slot that are like, he doesn't look ridiculous. Because we didn't really see enough of Hobbs, right? Like a good comp for me is like Jaden Mickey he got a lot of press as an early enrollee freshman, I recall. And like he had moments as a freshman where they put him in games and he didn't look good, right? Which is like you watch, it's like, oh, that didn't look good. But then you think, well, he's a freshman, so that's okay. There were like no moments of that with BMO. There were no moments of that with Leonard Moore. I haven't seen Carson Hobbs. I mean, he's played a little bit. I haven't seen anything on film that makes me think like, I don't like how that looks, but they didn't put him in games. So obviously they felt like they couldn't be ready. So, but it's important. It's important that he's a player for Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, I just want to clarify too, like Thomas, I thought looked good. Like I think that he looks like he's going to be a player, and was like, he didn't look like he was swimming at all. And that's what I always look for when I watch DBs early, is I'm like, especially they're playing zone, and you're like, oh, that's when you can look really bad if you don't know what you're doing, right? Like, it's one thing to get physically, to get beat, to get cooked or whatever. If it's man, it's another thing to be like, oh, I just left my guy and I didn't know what the heck was going on, because you're playing slow, you're doing that. And I thought everything, that way he was reacting to stuff, was like, oh, he might be a guy who could play this year. I'm just saying, like, chill on him being like, all of a sudden Leonard Moore gets hurt and Creed Thomas comes in and he's right there. Like, we'll wait and see. But we'll say that Mike Mickens, tremendous job at getting guys ready early. So
at two positions.
Yes.
He's the safety coach. Like he's doing both things. Yeah.
And if you look at like where the corners that they've had that have played as freshmen, there's been a ton of those guys. And both BMO and Moore came in the summer. So don't also count out Zachary or Dallas Golden, who obviously we both love as a prospect.
Guy Golden, yeah.
Of one of those guys coming in and being like, oh, like, we'll see what they hype up these guys when they come. But like, don't count on one of those guys not being, or maybe both, like, and really like being able to play early either. So I just have a feeling like they're going to be more than fine at corner. I think Hobbs will probably be fine as a third corner.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's a good sign too, that they like trust him to be like, they didn't just put him at nickel and then say, okay, you're done at nickel, never to be heard from again. They're like, oh, Smith's out. You're going to be the starting nickel with the one defense right now. So I think that's like a probably pretty good sign that he's like getting it, and he's really like progressed with his, knowledge and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I like what I'm hearing from Carson Hobbs. So yeah, it's look, there's a lot to be excited about. It just, frankly, there's, especially when the D tackles, we didn't talk about like Drake Bowen or KVA really, like,
oh yeah,
they're going to be really good. I think the safeties are going to be good. The corners, I mean, obviously with Moore and Gray, it's we're talking about a good football team, which is nice, right? I mean, Mike on the board is losing his mind. He's so excited. It actually makes me nervous how excited he is. Like, this is very disconcerting that he's as over the moon as he is about the team, recruiting, the program. I've never experienced this. I don't know what to think about it. We'll be back Thursday. Rodney Dunham is going to be announcing big time. That's a big time recruitment that hopefully Notre Dame wins. We feel good about it. Notre Dame could be in for a really epic D-line haul. I mean,
yeah,
it's trending in a way that's like, you're going to mess around and make me think they can start landing like the top flight wide receivers with, now you've got top corners, top D line, like top rush ends. Next up, the wide receivers are coming. So, it's a good time. Pops is here. We're ending the show, Pops. You got to come on. You got to get here sooner. Rewind to the beginning. You can watch the whole thing. But we'll be back on Thursday, me and Jamie. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like what you heard, please hit the like. Please subscribe. please hit the notification bell so whenever it is, we are going live back Thursday. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Keep hitting and hustling.